In this lecture, we're going to be answering the question, what does it mean to store and release energy? Now, you've learned that energy can be converted from one form to another. When it's not in the process of converting from one form to another, it's either being stored or released. So, first of all, let's think about a spring. If I have a spring and I compress it or push it down with my hand, well, I am using mechanical energy or movement energy to push that spring down. But now that energy that I released is going to be stored inside that spring. Because what happens then once I take my hand off of that compressed spring? It will spring back open to its original size. So, let's get some definitions. Potential energy is that energy that's being stored, or another way to think about it is that it's energy that's in a state of waiting. So pause and take a note about potential energy. Our other state of energy is kinetic energy, and that is energy that is being released as light, heat, motion, or action. Another way to think of kinetic energy is that it's energy that is in a state of action. So pause and take a note about kinetic energy. Okay, now that we have some definitions in hand, let's take another look at the spring. So when I'm compressing that spring and I have converted my mechanical energy into that stored energy that's now inside the spring, is that potential or kinetic energy? Well, is it energy that's in a state of waiting or a state of action? It's in a state of waiting, right? Because it's not moving, but all it takes to go into movement is for me to take my hand off of there. So when it's compressed, it's in a state of potential energy. But as soon as I take my hand off and that spring is opening back up, well, it's now in a state of action because we can see it moving. So that would be kinetic energy. Let's take a look at a few more examples. So here we have a girl standing at the edge of a cliff with a ball. Now, as she's holding the ball right there, about to drop over the edge, that is potential energy. Why? Well, because it's not moving, it's not in a state of action, but it's in a state of waiting. All it's going to take for that ball to be in action is for her to let go. And then you can see on the right side, when she does let go, that is now kinetic energy because that ball is in a state of action. A couple more examples. We have this giant rock that's teetering right on the edge of a cliff. Now that is, again, potential energy. Why? Is it moving? Is it changing? No, it's just sitting there. But it's in a state of waiting. All it would take is a little nudge for it to fall off the cliff. Same thing again with our spring. Once it's compressed, it's in a state of waiting, not in a state of action. Here's another example of an archer. When he's holding his arrow back, getting ready to let go, it's potential energy because that arrow is in a state of waiting. All it's going to take is for him to let go and it'll fly through the air. But it's not going yet, so it's potential. As soon as he lets go, that energy is going to be released and it'll be in a state of action, flying through the air in the state of kinetic energy. Okay, I want you guys to try this one on your own. I want you to think, what type of energy, what state of energy is this lady showing, holding these balloons in the air? And then I want you to think, what would it take for it to change to the other state of energy? So for example, if you think she is currently displaying potential energy, what would it take for it to be kinetic energy? What would she have to do? And vice versa. Jot that down in your notes to discuss later. And there you have it. Now you can answer the question, what does it mean to store and release energy?